Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Rhonda Wakeland, and I'm an assistant professor of e-learning at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences. I'm sure everyone attending this lecture today has experienced AI in some form or fashion by this point. As a matter of fact, AI has been around for a while. We're all familiar with our good friend Siri, and we all know that the military has been using AI for several years. However, as I'm sure you're aware of, AI has become a buzz topic of our recent times. I'm sure you're also aware of the concerns that AI has generated. While I do think that some of these concerns may be warranted, I also believe that AI has a tremendous capacity and an ability to improve our lives and even benefit us in education. In my field, which is e-learning and distance education, I am constantly searching on how to improve current methods for my students. At my institution, we employ over 10,000 individuals, all of whom are associated with the medical professions. We are also a teaching institution and educate future doctors, nurses, and healthcare professionals. Some of these individuals join us from around the globe, virtually, on a daily basis. As you can imagine, this can create a challenge. Language barriers, cultural differences, and the desire to create and develop immersive and interactive learning content leave us wondering how to meet the needs of our students. Therefore, in this presentation, we will look to AI and the potential benefits it may offer and the gaps in distance education it may help us to bridge. As we begin the presentation today, I would like to start with this quote that I located from the National Science Foundation. Remember back on the beginning slide, I mentioned that I have students from around the globe. Different social backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, maybe different educational backgrounds, different skill levels, and think about what those challenges are to bring us all together and put us on the same sort of equal and level path. AI gives us that opportunity. It helps us to overcome those ecological problems of time and place, knowledge, and information. It gets you where you stand, so to speak, and it helps us to create a more even playing field for our students so we can learn to work together and to build our knowledge as a community. So, as we begin this presentation today, let's use this quote to think about all that we need to focus on to create that more inclusive learning environment. Artificial intelligence has the ability to cater to individual needs. In other words, it has the ability to make things more accurate for our learners. We can deliver more personalized content, more tailored to their educational needs. And the two ideas that we're going to take a look at today, or maybe educational theories that we're going to look at today, are immersive learning and adaptive learning. Immersive learning actually puts the learner in control of their learning process. They experience the scenario for themselves, and AI guides them through that process of learning and figuring out problems and solutions when they're looking at various scenarios. Adaptive learning, on the other hand, adapts to that skill level of the student. So, whatever they begin with, whatever knowledge or skill level that they already have, AI will tailor that experience for them and adapt as they move through that learning and skill driven process. In inclusive education, we want to make sure that all of our students with different needs are able to learn in a fair and equitable environment. So, AI enables us to do this. It helps us to contribute to that inclusive learning environment by adapting to those individual needs of diverse learners. Some examples that I have here you see, and we've already mentioned adaptive learning, but there's also a personalized skill development process as well that AI may be included in, which is very beneficial for that personalized skill development. Also, language barriers. I've mentioned in the very beginning that I have students from around the globe. Well, with certain AI technologies, I may be recording this lecture, for example, in English. However, the student can have this repeated back to them, let's say, for example, in Farsi, or maybe Italian, or maybe Arabic, for example. So AI helps with these barriers such as language, socioeconomic status. Maybe the student isn't able to afford to, fly to the United States where I'm located and to attend classes live. However, in an online learning environment that is assisted by AI technologies, there is that benefit, that economic benefit for our students. Also, students with disabilities, there are numerous artificial intelligence tools that are available for students with disabilities that helps them through the processes of learning. Immersive learning. Immersive learning puts the student in that actual scenario, in that situation, and allows them to work through complex situations and scenarios that we also call in my field a simulation. So, simulation is very important and very, very useful for AI technology to aid our students in. So, this slide here, as you can see, we have our examples of what some of the potential benefits are, things that we can use AI technology for as we teach our learners online. Moving on further with potential benefits, I want to take a deeper look at adaptive learning and AI. Adaptive learning, and I hate to read the slide, but I'm just going to read this part here, is part of interactive learning which addresses the needs of individuals through learning pathways. And through those pathways, AI will then provide feedback and also supplemental resources to the students. And this is in opposition to that one size fits all curriculum I'm sure you all are probably familiar with. And, for me, as an instructor, as a faculty member, the worst thing I think is to be part of a classroom where the instructor simply teaches. And when I say that, what I mean is where they lecture. There's no guided or useful path for getting there. So I remember when I was in college, for example, our teacher or instructor would lecture, and we were given notes. We took notes in the classroom. We were expected to take those notes back to our dorm rooms, study those notes, and then return the following week and take a quiz or a test. To me, this is probably the most ineffective way to teach. Now, thank goodness, we have that ability to allow the student to effectively use technologies and their own knowledge to teach themselves and to be part of more of an adaptive learning environment where, yes, they make mistakes, but they are able to learn from those mistakes and receive feedback on those mistakes as they learn. So, this is one of the things that I think is very, very beneficial when we think of AI. How can we use it, especially in a field such as mine in the medical field, to learn and allow the student to learn from the process or the scenario or the simulation and to correct those errors and mistakes as they learn. Also, those adaptive sequences, they are continuously collecting and analyzing that student data to automatically change what a student sees next. So you're constantly building, you're constantly learning, and you're constantly in that process of gaining and reforming or changing that information, that context that you are learning as you go. So this is very beneficial to students. And the same here when we take a look at assessment questions. So, there's always this one size fits all for all students, and I'm sure we're familiar with that. But with this adaptive learning process, AI can change those questions. So, as the student learns more, the questions become more complex. Maybe they're given more scenarios, and they're able to solve those questions and those scenarios for themselves. That way, that in that manner, they are improving upon their knowledge and their skill thanks to AI. On the previous slide, I mentioned adaptive AI and how it can be used to improve the students' education and their experience in their online learning environments. While it's true adaptive learning does adapt to the student's responses, in an immersive learning environment, the student can actually connect and engage in and with AI, and also with examples of simulations of real life learning scenarios, therefore improving the acquisition of those skills and their techniques. In my field, we use this a lot, and it's called simulation education, and we do use AI quite a bit for this. In this approach to immersive learning and simulation, it's the chatbots that engage with our learners and interact in learning scenarios. Students then experience the scenario and are given those opportunities to work through the problems that they are provided with. They also base this and learn based on that current knowledge and skill, which helps them to further their understanding by being able to solve those complex problems in that immersive learning environment. So, for example, in an operating room, for example, a student may be given the scenario of a sudden bleed or a drop in blood pressure. The chatbot would then interact with the student and provide them with a series of responses, or, as the case may be, options to choose from and work through the scenario or the simulation. Therefore, allowing that student to develop their skills and also their understanding and knowledge in their course, in their field of study. I would like to take a quick look at some of the examples of uses for AI. Let's take a look at games for just a moment. Games can help to create that interaction with the students, where the students are actually using a fun kind of learning process where they can learn about the materials that they're experiencing. Simulations. So, in a simulation, as you probably know, we are simulating an actual situation or environment where the student will interact with the content that they're experiencing. Scenarios. In scenarios, we are working within a storyline. So, for example, as I mentioned earlier, if a student is in, let's say, a difficult situation in an operating room and they're given a series of options to choose from, what option would you choose and what would that outcome be? And this would be based on that data that is inputted into the AI technology and provides the student with that information or that content as they work through that scenario. Task driven. So a student is given a task to solve. So perhaps they are given a, let's say, maybe a recipe. So what would be the task of that recipe? What would be the next step in that recipe to complete that recipe? Or maybe it's a process, or a series of processes, something more task driven, in other words. Personalized learning experience. And again, this is that adaptive learning where, the AI tool is confronted with the student's current knowledge and then works with the student or guides the student through that personalized learning process so they could enhance and build upon their skills and knowledge. Foreign languages. Two ways here AI can help students. One option I gave earlier is a student who is not a native born speaker of English. With the AI technology, what they hear would be their own native language. Or perhaps something, for example, maybe they are learning Spanish, for example. AI would help assist the student in learning that foreign language, such as Spanish or French or whatever foreign language that they're interested in. And also various support technologies for students with disabilities. So these are all very common and very excellent uses of AI in effort to support and to enhance the learning processes of our learners. AI can provide us with numerous potential benefits for our students. However, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention some potential issues. And I'm sure, most of you have heard potential issues that do arise or could arise as because of AI and maybe, misleading data that is uh, inputted into the technology. For example, potential bias. Once again, AI could generate responses from data sets that have been pre programmed, and maybe these have been pre programmed based on others' potential biases. So we need to be aware of those issues. Also, privacy and security. For us in my field, we have to be very aware of two very important things. One is FERPA, which is um, for students in our country, in the United States. We have to be very concerned with the privacy of our students. We also have HIPAA laws. So, HIPAA laws pertain to patients and maybe outside sources obtaining those private files of our patients. So, we have to be aware of privacy and security in the medical field. We can also consider decreased social connections. So if people are constantly using and working with AI, well, then how does that help us socially? How does that bring us together as a learning community if we're all based in different areas? So that is another idea or another uh, item that we need to be concerned with when we're employing AI as an educational tool, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to make our learning environments more inclusive and become a community. And that is a difficult issue I think we all face when we teach online. Cheating, of course. As you know, um, students can use AI to generate papers. So it's not their own original thought processes. They're using AI to cheat, basically, and that's something that we are concerned with as well. Over reliance on technology. So, what happens with our ability to educate ourselves as human beings if we are reliant on a technology to tell us what to do or what we are learning. Equity. How many people actually have access to this tool? Maybe beyond the classroom. If this is a tool maybe that you are providing to your students within the classroom, well then, of course, they all will have access to this tool and its information. But beyond that, how long will they have access to this tool, and will they be able to access it once after the course is no longer available? Developing nations and their infrastructure. Every nation is different. We all have different infrastructure. Um, Third world countries, for example, may not have, um, appropriate internet connections, for example, to use such technology, and it may be a problem for them to be able to do that. They may not have the internet capacity or the speed to use an AI, a very strong, a very robust AI technology. So, AI is a wonderful, wonderful technology and tool for us to have access to, but we must be aware of its potential issues as well as we dive and delve deeper and deeper into the use of this technology and its future. I want to thank you all for joining my presentation today, and I hope that you all are also able to think of some more methods or uses for AI in your own distance education programs. We know that AI could be very beneficial for all, if not, most students involved. We hope that others will take the opportunity to get to know AI and the benefits that it could bring all of our learners in not only physical classrooms but distance education programs as well. Once again, thank you all and hope to see you soon.